Hello, everyone. Welcome to English Podcast TV. I'm Chloe.
And I'm Mike.
Mike, quick question before we start.
Go ahead.
When you were learning Mandarin, were you a loud student or a quiet one?
Oh, the quiet one. Very quiet.
How quiet were you?
I said one word in 3 weeks.
One word?
Someone asked if I liked Beijing, and I said, Xihuan? That means like. That was my entire contribution.
And people thought you were falling behind.
Everyone thought that. My teacher, my language partner, even me.
But you were not.
No, I was doing something different. I just did not know it yet.
And that is what today's episode is about. Why quiet people often learn English faster than loud, talkative people.
Which sounds backwards, right?
Everything tells us speak more, be louder, practice out loud.
But what if silence is doing something powerful, something nobody sees?
So here is a question for you. Right now, think about it.
When was the last time you knew the answer but stayed silent?
Hold that moment. We are coming back to it.
Okay. So what is actually happening inside a quiet person's brain?
Because from the outside, nothing.
Right, but inside, a lot.
Tell me.
When a talkative person hears a new word, they repeat it fast, use it once, move on.
Like picking up a coin and dropping it.
Exactly. They touch it once, and then it is gone.
And what does the quiet person do?
Holds the coin, turns it over, looks at both sides, feels the weight of it.
So the brain is really chewing on the word, not just swallowing it.
Scientists call this deep processing, and the result is stronger memory, longer memory.
I felt this. When I was learning Spanish in Brazil, I was the quietest person in the class.
Wait, you were the quiet one?
I know, hard to believe. But in Spanish, I barely said a word. Everyone around me was chatting, making mistakes, having fun, and I was just sitting there.
Feeling like you were falling behind?
Completely. But months later, when I finally started speaking, my teacher said, "Your grammar is really clean." How?
Because you had been processing the whole time.
Without knowing it. The patterns were already inside me from all that quiet listening.
And that connects to something important, the difference between intake and output.
Intake is everything going into your brain.
Output is what comes out of your mouth.
And
Intake always comes first. Always.
a baby listens for a whole year before one word. Nobody panics.
But with adult learners, suddenly silence is a problem.
So silence is not failure, it is preparation.
Your brain filling up before it pours out. But this is just advantage number 1.
There is more?
The second one might be even more powerful.
Okay, what is it?
Listening. Real listening. Not the waiting for your turn to talk kind.
Oh, there is a difference?
A big one. When you are not planning what to say next, your brain does 3 things at once.
3?
Absorbs pronunciation, picks up grammar patterns, builds vocabulary in real context.
A 3-in-1 workout. And quiet people do it naturally.
Because they're comfortable with silence. No pressure to fill every gap.
Meanwhile, the talkative student is planning their next sentence while the teacher is still talking.
They catch maybe half.
And quiet learners catch everything.
Including things that are almost impossible to teach.
Like what?
Body language, tone changes, the small words that make English sound natural. You know, I mean, honestly.
Those tiny pieces that no textbook covers. You catch them by watching, not by talking.
Think of a detective. The best detective is never the loud one.
It is the one standing in the corner, watching, catching details everyone else misses.
Quiet learners are language detectives.
I like that. But Mike, at some point you do have to open your mouth.
You do.
And that is where it gets complicated, because most people have a completely wrong picture of what a good speaker looks like.
What do you mean?
Imagine 2 types. Type 1, the machine gun. Talks and talks, fills every silence with like, maybe.
They are terrified of pauses.
Like digging a hole. You know you should stop, but you keep going deeper.
I have been that person.
Me too. Now, type 2, the sniper. Calm, patient, waits. Then one shot, one clear sentence.
They use fewer words, but every word lands.
Put simply, it is not about how much you say, it's about whether it reaches the other person.
Test it. Chloe, how was the movie?
Machine Gun Chloe would say, well, you know, it was okay, I guess. The acting was nice, but the story was sort of long and
I already stopped listening.
rude. Okay, Sniper Chloe would say, beautiful to watch, way too long.
6 words. I remember every one.
And quiet people are natural snipers. They do not waste words.
That is a relief. But I want to push back a little.
Oh, go ahead.
We're making silence sound romantic, and it can be, but there's a dark side too.
The perfectionism trap.
Yeah, that moment when you have a sentence ready in your head, but you keep editing it.
Is the grammar right? Is my pronunciation okay?
And by the time you're done editing, the conversation is gone.
It's like baking a cake but never taking it out of the oven.
5 more minutes, 5 more, 5 more.
And then?
The cake burns, and you feel worse than if you had just served it messy.
In other words, waiting for perfect does not protect you. It punishes you.
Let me paint a picture.
Okay.
You are in a classroom. The teacher asks a question. You know the answer. You can feel it right there in your chest.
But your hand stays down.
Someone else answers. They say exactly what you were thinking.
And later, on the bus or in your bed, the perfect sentence finally comes. Clear, beautiful, too late.
If that felt familiar, stay with us because we are about to talk about why that happens, and the answer is not what you expect.
Before we go there, if this is making sense to you, a quick like really helps us reach more learners. Okay, let's keep going.
But first, take a second. Think about your own version of that classroom. A moment where you wanted to speak, but something stopped you.
Hold it, because this next story might explain exactly what happened.
I have a story about this, one I do not usually tell.
Tell me.
I was in Beijing, 5 months into learning Mandarin, and I joined a conversation group, 8 people around a table every Tuesday night.
What kind of place?
A cafe near the university. It was a narrow room with fluorescent lights. The chairs were plastic. You know the ones that stick to your legs in summer.
I know those chairs.
The first night, I said nothing. I understood maybe half, but every time I started building a sentence in my head, the topic changed.
That gap between understanding and speaking, it is brutal.
Second week, same thing. Third week, same. I showed up, sat down, listened, said nothing.
Nobody tried to bring you in?
Once, a guy named Wei asked where I was from. I said, America. One word. He nodded and went back to his conversation. And then, the 4th Tuesday, I walked in, and my chair was gone.
What do you mean, gone?
7 chairs, not 8. Someone looked up and said, "Oh, sorry, we did not think you were coming back."
Oh, Mike.
They were not being cruel. That's what made it worse. They just forgot I was part of it.
The silence made you invisible.
Completely. I smiled, I said no problem, and I walked out.
And then?
I stopped studying. 2 weeks. No flashcards, no podcasts, no trying. I told myself, maybe I'm not a language person. Maybe some people just can't do this.
That's a heavy thing to believe about yourself.
It felt true. And then one afternoon, I was sitting in a tea house near my apartment, a tiny place. An old man ran it alone. He had a cat that slept on the counter.
Of course there was a cat.
A fat orange cat. And the old man poured tea for me without asking. He always did. And then he said something, slowly, looking right at me.
Did you understand him?
Not all of it, but one part. He asked if I liked the tea.
And?
I said, 很好喝. Very good. 3 syllables. And he did this thing. He tilted his head, raised his eyebrows, and gave me this slow nod, like, there you go.
There you go.
3 syllables. But for the first time in weeks, someone heard me. Not my English self, not my translated self, just me, saying something small and real.
The bridge was messy, but it held your weight.
And that night I realized something. I wasn't failing because I was quiet.
No?
I was failing because perfectionism had borrowed my voice, and I never asked it back.
Wait, say that again?
Perfectionism borrowed my voice. It said, I'll hold this for you, just until you're ready. But ready never came, because perfectionism never gives it back. You have to take it.
You have to take it back. That changes everything. Because so many learners think, I'm just not ready yet.
And sometimes not ready is just fear holding your voice and pretending to help.
So, what did you do the next morning?
I went back to the tea house, I pointed at the cat, and I asked the old man in terrible Mandarin, what is the cat's name?
What was it?
Pong Pong.
Fatty?
Basically, yes. And we both laughed. And that was the beginning. I went there every afternoon. I had tea and 3 sentences with the old man and his fat cat.
3 sentences.
And every one of the strategies I'm about to share came from that time. They were not designed, they were discovered.
Okay, real tools. Things you can start today. And the first one is mine.
Yours?
Strategy 1. The shadow-first approach. Before you talk to a real person, you practice with something safe. A podcast, a video, a show.
How does it work?
You hear a sentence, pause, repeat it out loud. Copy the rhythm, the feeling, the sound.
Like singing along with a song, but with spoken English.
Exactly. There is 0 pressure. Nobody is watching you.
Did you do this?
With a Brazilian soap opera.
Wait, a soap opera?
My Portuguese was very dramatic for about 3 months.
I believe that. But did it help?
When I finally had a real conversation, the sounds already lived in my mouth. I was not building them for the first time. I was just redirecting them.
That is a great way to put it. Okay, strategy 2, the mirror technique.
Ooh, I like the sound of this.
When someone finishes a sentence, you repeat the last few words back as a question. That is it.
That is a strategy? That is just repeating.
Watch. I say, I went to Istanbul last weekend. Honestly, it was a complete disaster.
A complete disaster?
See? Now I feel like you care. I want to tell you more. 3 words, but the conversation keeps flowing.
Huh. Almost no effort, but the other person feels heard.
And you get more listening practice for free.
Okay, strategy 3 is mine again. The honest learner card.
This is about the bluff moment?
The bluff moment. When someone says something and you nod like you understood, and you pray they do not ask a follow-up.
I've been there so many times.
We all have, but bluffing can go very wrong. Imagine someone says, "My grandmother is in the hospital," and you smile and say, "Oh, wonderful."
Oh no.
So instead, you play the honest learner card. You say, "Sorry, I missed that. I'm still learning. Could you say it more simply?"
And people respond well to that?
Their whole face changes. They slow down, use easier words. They become your teacher right there. I've seen it 100 times.
Because honesty opens doors.
And pretending closes them.
Okay, last one. Strategy 4, the 3-sentence rule, my favorite.
The one from the tea house?
The one from the tea house. Every day, you make 3 sentences about your day in English. Not a paragraph, not an essay, 3 short sentences.
Like,
You make, today I went to the market. I bought some tomatoes. It was very cold outside.
that's almost too simple.
And that's why it works. So small, it never feels scary. but it trains your brain to think in English every day.
And you can do it anywhere, while walking, in a notebook, in a voice message to yourself.
One of my students did this for a month. First week, he hated it. Second week, he forgot once. By week 3, his brain was making English sentences without him trying.
Because the habit is so small, you never skip it. And because you never skip it, it compounds.
Compounds. That means it builds a little every day, until one morning you look and something real has grown.
I want to bring this to English now, because everything we said today connects to one thing.
What is that?
You do not need to change who you are to learn a language. You need to use who you already are.
Can you tell a story about that?
When I was teaching English in Turkey, I was also trying to learn Turkish on the side.
How was that going?
Terrible. But there was a bakery near my apartment, a tiny place with a blue door. The bread was still warm when you walked in at 7.
I can smell it already.
The woman who ran it, everyone called her Aisha Teyze. Teyze means auntie. She was maybe 60. She was short, with strong hands, always flour on her arms.
Okay, I like her already.
The first morning I walked in, I said, "Merhaba." She said something back, fast and warm. I understood nothing.
The bluff?
The full bluff. I smiled, I nodded, I pointed at the bread.
Classic.
She gave me the bread, I paid, I left. The second morning, same thing. The third, the fourth, the fifth, every morning I would smile, nod, point, and leave.
For how long?
Almost 2 weeks, and I felt terrible about it because she was always so warm to me, and I gave her nothing back. Then one morning, cold day, raining, I walked in, she looked at me, touched my arm, and said one word, slowly. Sıcak.
Warm.
Warm. She was pointing at the bread, fresh from the oven. Sıcak. And the word did not go through English first. It went straight to the feeling. The warm bread, my cold hands, her smile.
The word found its own way in.
And I said it back. Sıcak. She clapped her hands, this big smile.
One word, but it was real.
I went back the next morning. She already had the bread waiting, and she said a new word, taze, fresh. She held the bread close to my face so I could smell it.
She was teaching you.
She taught me one word at a time. No textbook, just bread and words. And the next week, she gave me a nickname, Ekmek Kuzu,
Which means?
bread girl.
Bread girl.
I did not even buy anything else, just bread. And by the 4th week, I was saying short sentences. They were messy and wrong, but she never corrected me. She just answered slowly with her hands.
She met you where you were.
And one morning, a tourist came in. German, I think. She looked confused, could not read the sign. And Aisha Teyze looked at me and pointed at the tourist, like, you explain.
Wait, she made you the translator?
In my broken Turkish. I told the woman the prices. I said them badly, but it worked. And Aisha Teyze watched the whole thing with this proud look, like a mother at a school play.
That is not just a language moment.
No, that is belonging. In a language I barely spoke, and none of it would have happened if I had just kept pointing and leaving.
If you had waited until you were ready,
I would still be waiting.
there is one more thing we need to talk about. The thing that keeps quiet people stuck more than grammar or vocabulary.
The fear that everyone is watching.
Psychologists call it the spotlight effect, that feeling that a bright light is on your face, every mistake on display.
But here is what I learned from years of teaching. Nobody is watching you the way you think.
Really?
When you speak, the other person is thinking about their own life, what to eat tonight, whether their hair looks okay.
So we overestimate how much people notice our mistakes.
Massively. Everyone is too busy with their own spotlight to watch yours.
Your mistakes are background noise. The real connection between two humans That is the main event.
Nobody leaves a conversation thinking, he used the wrong tense. They leave thinking, he was kind, or that was interesting.
So next time you feel that spotlight, tell yourself, I am not the main character in their head. I am a background extra for 2 seconds.
I'm keeping that one. Okay, remember that moment from the beginning? The time you knew the answer but stayed silent?
Does it look different now? Maybe it was not weakness. Maybe your brain was doing the most important work in the room. And maybe what held you back was never the quiet. It was something else, pretending to be the quiet.
Okay, let's take a breath. There were some important words in today's conversation. Let's make sure they stick.
No rush, and if you want, repeat after us.
First word, deep processing.
When your brain works carefully on new information, not just hearing a word, thinking about it, connecting it, storing it strongly.
Example, quiet learners are good at deep processing. Or, deep processing makes vocabulary stick longer.
Say it with me. Deep processing.
Deep processing.
Next, intake.
Everything going into your brain. Words, sounds, patterns. The opposite of output.
Example, my intake is strong because I listen a lot.
Try it. Intake.
Intake,
Next word, observation.
noticing things carefully, watching, listening, catching details others miss.
Example, she learned that word from observation, not from a book.
Repeat after me. Observation.
Observation.
Okay, next, rambling.
Talking for a long time without a clear point, going on and on. Remember Machine Gun Chloe?
That was rambling. Example, I was nervous and started rambling.
Say it with me. Rambling.
Rambling.
Next, to bluff.
Pretending you understand when you do not. Like in a card game, your hand is bad, but your face says, I am winning.
Example, I bluffed through the whole conversation. Or, stop bluffing, just ask them to repeat.
Try it. Bluff.
Bluff.
Next, compound.
To grow bigger over time, small things adding up. Example, 3 sentences a day, the progress compounds.
Repeat after me. Compound.
Compound.
And last word, the spotlight effect.
The feeling that everyone is watching you and noticing your mistakes. But in reality, most people are focused on themselves.
Example, I felt like everyone saw my mistake, but it was just the spotlight effect.
Say it with me. The spotlight effect.
The spotlight effect. All right, before we go, a small challenge.
Gentle, no pressure.
Today, try the 3-sentence rule. 3 sentences about your day. In English. In your head, a notebook, a voice message. Anywhere.
I will go first. Today, I recorded a podcast with Mike. I told a story about a bakery in Turkey. I miss Aisha bread.
Mine. Today, I talked about a tea house in Beijing. I remembered a fat cat named Pong Pong. I am glad I went back.
Pong Pong makes it into the challenge.
Tell us your 3 sentences in the comments. We would love to read them.
And if this episode changed how you see your quiet side, share it with someone who needs to hear it.
Hit the like button if this helped, and subscribe if you have not yet.
Thank you for being here today.
Take care. Keep learning. Keep listening.
And if perfectionism has been holding your voice, maybe today is the day you ask for it back.
You do not need to be loud. You just need to be heard.
Bye, everyone.
See you in the next one.